Hi everybody, welcome to Lost Lake Fly tutorials. Tonight I'm going to be tying up a beautiful little buzzer. It was on our fly club on the fly fishing UK Still Waters and Rivers Facebook page, and it's up on my YouTube channel as well. And it's a very simple little Flexi Floss buzzer, and it doesn't take an awful lot of materials to get a really effective little buzzer that's going to put you on fish, particularly down here where I fish down in the south. We're blessed with crystal clear water sometimes down here, most of the time, and these are great little stalking buzzers, as well as putting them out and letting them drift and letting them get taken up by feeding fish. So I'm going to start off with one of my favorite hooks, which is this little hook here, which is the hope you can see that, which is the Hansen. This is the FM 5065. It's a Czech Nymph hook. I like this for lots of different things, and I always buy extras of them. So I'm just going to put it into my vise. There we go. Put it into the vise, and I'm going to start off just with a layer of base thread. Now this is UTC 70 denier black. Choosing this because it's got a nice flat profile to it, and I want it to flatten out because I don't want this buzzer to be particularly fat. I want it to be quite slimline. So I'm going to start off just going to put a baseline of tie-in thread just about 2 millimeters away from the eye. Don't want to get too close to the eye. And I'm going to bring it back so that I'm in line with the point of the hook, or just behind it here. I'm just going to put another 3 wraps just forward. Then I'm just going to break off my tag end and then bring that back. Now I'm going to form the body in a second, but I'm actually going to use some Flexi Floss, some red Flexi Floss here. This is from Vineyards, and I'm going to use this to form the under part of my body, but also it's going to form my rib. So to get this into place, I'm just going to bring my Flexi Floss just underneath my vise. I'm going to lift up my tie-in thread, and I'm just going to lift it up. I'm just going to drop it back onto my hook shank, like so. Tighten up with my tie-in thread, and I'm going to pull the end of the Flexi Floss quite tight because I want it to flatten out. And I'm just going to make close to touching turns down the body. Now the Flexi Floss can help me do this because as I make a turn, make a wrap, it's pushing the thread back onto the last wrap that I made. So it's making a very nice underbody section so that there aren't any gaps, or very few gaps. We can always tidy it up. And I'm going to bring it down so that I'm just above the hook point here. And then I'm just going to leave those go, and I'm just going to spin my bobbin just to unwind my tie-in thread to flatten it out again, because I want it to be as flat as possible. And then I'm going to take this tag end and I'm going to pull it really tight. Now I'm going to pull it tight because when I cut it just here, there we go, it zips back and makes a very slim profile. You don't get a lump. Now my tie-in thread, here it is all flattened out. So I'm just now going to put another layer all the way back up, trying to keep as close as I can to my last wraps as I go all the way up. If I feel that it's getting a bit twisted, I can always stop. I'm going to take it back up to just to the point. I'm just going to give it a little spin just to flatten it out again, and take it all the way back down. Another quick little spin to flatten out. You should be able to see it physically flatten, but I find that if I run my finger across it like this, I can see it flattening on my finger. And then I come back up, trying to keep it as flat as possible. Don't worry if it's not perfectly flat. And then I'm going to back to where I start, just take it a little bit further than the point here. I'm going to take my Flexi Floss rib, I love Flexi Floss because it's really versatile. So what I can do is I'm going to wrap this as a rib going up the body of the buzzer, and I'm going to start off with it really, really tight. It slims the profile and flattens it out, particularly at the butt end of the fly. But as I move up the body, I'm just taking off tension, so it thickens out and forms a more pronounced segmentation. You can see this is in red. You could do it in any colour. You could change the colour of your thread for a whole variety. And then when I get to the top here, I'm just going to put a locking turn and then a second locking turn, and it's held on top. Now I'm going to put a couple more turns, 2 or 3, and then I'm just going to pull my Flexi Floss and snip. And you can see just here that it's just making a nice little profile, and I can just cover it over with my tie-in thread. Again, trying to keep it wherever possible as flat as possible. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a spin, and I'm going to leave my tie-in thread halfway in the thorax area. So now I'm going to take another piece of Flexi Floss, different colour. Choice is yours, of course, but any colours, any colour combination. You could do this with other things like crystal flash, with your tinsels for your cheeks. What I'm going to do, same method again. I'm just going to put it underneath my tying thread. I'm going to lift, but this time I'm going to continue round so that it's underneath. And when I let go of it, it's just stuck at the bottom. I just put another locking turn in just to hold it. And now I'm going to take my thumb and my forefinger, and I'm going to sweep it right back. And I'm going to hold it. Oh, just lost it there. I'm going to hold it all the way down so that it's pointing down towards my tying bench. And then I'm going to just wrap back on it to hold it in place. Now what we're doing here is ensuring that we can get it so that it when we tie it in, it's going to be at an angle pointing upwards. Doesn't really matter. You can have it pointing down if you like, but it just sort of looks like it should really. And I'm just going to build up a thorax area. You can make this as big as you like or as heavy as you like. You could add other colours. You could add some resin later on. But I'm just going to build it up. And I'm just going to unspin. Notice I'm keeping the Flexi Floss out of the way because it has a tendency to flick back and get right in your way. So I'm just going to, there we go, just going to build up a very, very, very flat area there. Right, now I'm going to bring my Flexi Floss forward. Now you can have it tight if you want nice thin cheeks, or you can let off the tension and have quite thick cheeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it. Once I've got my cheeks in place, I'm going to put a locking turn on, and then a second locking turn, and just stop and have a look and see if I'm happy with the position. Just going to move it with my fingers. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Happy with that. And I'm just going to put a couple of extra turns just to lock it into play. And then, like I did before, I'm going to take the ends, pull them really tight, and I'm just going to take a very gentle snip and then tidy up the head. Now the reason I left the 1 to 2 millimeters at the beginning is so that we can form a nice head. Don't be frightened about having a head on a buzzer. It looks quite convincing. And we're in play here. I'm going to take my whip finish tool, and I'm just going to put 2 or 3 whip finishes onto my buzzer, and we're done. Now I'm going to remove my tying thread. Scissors, great if they're very fine, but I do like just using a little sharp scalpel blade and just push it against the thread and bring the thread back on it. A little bit of pressure and it just pings off, and we get this nice finished buzzer, hopefully. There we go. Now, going to make it a bit bulletproof, because these fish, as we know, have got really sharp teeth, and just by applying a couple of coats then of very fine, you don't want it too thick, fine varnish. I'm using Sally Hansen, hard as nails here. Very fine varnish to the buzzer. It does a number of things. It protects the body, protects all of that rubberized Flexi Floss. But what it also does is it makes the colours ping. And when it's in the water, it just gives you that extra trigger point for those fish. And hopefully you can see that it's just brought out the colours in that. And we've got our almost finished buzzer. Now, at this point, we need to just clear out, make sure there's no varnish left in the eye. I might put another couple of coats on, it depends. So I'm just going to take, I've got this piece of teal feather here I've been using. I'm just going to poke it into the eye. There we go. And just run it through a couple of times just to clear that out. And there we have it. We've got our finished Flexi Floss buzzer. Hope you enjoyed that. It's a really wonderful little buzzer to tie. It's very straightforward, very simple, and a good one for technique. And if you follow me on a Friday on the Facebook page, you'll know that I'm all about techniques. Patterns come and go, but if you can get those techniques spot on and you practice them and practice them and practice them, you can tie just about anything. Hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Please share. Don't be afraid to subscribe as well if you haven't yet subscribed. And we'll be back next time with something else, just to wet your whistle and give you something else to tie during the winter months. Thank you very much.